Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Phobya Test Bench. I've obviously done a couple of test benches recently. I've actually got another one to do as well, but I've been working with the Phobya one for quite a while. I've actually had this as like my static test bench for at least the last month, so I've had a good chance to get used to it, you know, give it a good rundown, find out all the quirks and, you know, kind of niggles that I've had with it, which is generally what I like to do with these type of things, is get a real feel for them, because at the end of the day, you guys are going to be using them quite a lot. These tend to get a lot more abuse and use than a normal case. So anyway, what I'm going to do is obviously bring the camera in, give you a good look round, show you the features, and then we'll tie it all up in the end with a conclusion, as we always do. But for now, I need to shush my mouth and get the camera moved. Right then peeps, so we'll make a start with the basics, and we'll start at the top and work our way down as we always do. Expansion slots at the back, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there is a second set. This is a Rampage 4 Extreme that we've got on here, so that's E80X, which just means it's a little bit longer. But there's an extra set of mounts at the bottom of the board, which means we can get an XL80X motherboard on here. If you see, we've got a set of grommets here, which the board does ever so slightly cover, but that's where it's XL80X and not normal ATX, because we've got about an extra inch width with the Rampage 4. But we've also got a second set of grommets here, and that's because it does support the HTPX boards like the SR2 and the SRX. So it supports wide format boards as well. There's a set of modular runners at either end of the motherboard area, and as you can see, I've got a H80 mounted here on the 120mm clamp. One thing I will say with it though is that there is a lack of being able to actually mount fans with this. This bracket is the only one that I got sent, so if you're going to end up using it, because quite a lot of people have started to use these as like main rigs. I personally don't like it, there's too much dust. There's no way you can really start to mount stuff. When you're benchmarking, I know you can balance fans and stuff like that, but it is quite handy sometimes just to be able to kind of fix a fan in place to know that it's not going to go anywhere, especially when you're running like a Delta or a Panaflow, which are pushing 160, 200 plus CFM. They can, with the vibrations, start to blow themselves away from what you're trying to cool, especially when it's sat on its side. So sometimes with those, it's nice to be able to fix them in place. Anyway, also down the front, I've got the additional buttons. They're like anti-vandal switches. One of these is a red ring, one of these is a white ring. These are an aftermarket option. They're about £10–15 each, and you can obviously pick the colours that you want. The test bench is only available in black, but the buttons come in all your usual colours. You can go on there, go to the Phobya buttons, and you can see, and they're really nice as well. I much prefer the buttons with the ring around the outside rather than the dot in the middle. I just find that the button click is actually quite nicer. So that way you can actually customise it. Obviously I've gone with the red because I generally end up using the Rampage on these things, especially long term. So we just went down the kind of red and black route. It also ties in with the Phobya branding anyway. Now, if I move the this around, we go back there. There's also a set of grommets at the back. This is great if you need to pull sort of like cables through. But to be perfectly honest with you, the only one that you're really going to need to do is bring the 8-pin power up. I would have said it would have been nicer somewhere around the top area somewhere to have had a bigger grommet like on the front. And that would have been just so that, for argument's sake, I'm just going to unplug this now so I can show you. With the H80, to be able to get a Molex through, because you can't. Now I know you can pop these off and just push the cables through and then redo it. If you're taking things on and off all the time, as I am, sometimes it's just a bit of a pain in the bum to have to get the Molex tool out, and for the sake of just having a grommet there, would have made things a lot easier. I can't get this thing on now. Anyway, right. Another thing is underneath there isn't a CPU cutout. Now that's only really going to be an issue when you're running sort of like air cooling blocks, but also it can just be nice if you've got to change heat sinks a lot, just to be able to have that there, just so you've got that option And also with the CPU cutout, that would have also given you the option of not necessarily needing the bigger grommet, because you can use the CPU cutout to poke cables up through as well. So it's kind of a two-edged sword there with that. You can get quite a few things done just with that CPU cutout. I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity there. It's something that I've said about other bench tables in the past as well. Because obviously with something like this, you want to make it easy and quick for people to be able to change parts. Now, following on from that point I've just made about making it easy and quick for people to change parts, this is something that I really don't understand with this, is that, especially on the back here with the PCIs, I'm just going to lean over and get the tool. They're Allen keys. Now it's an M3 thread, so it's a normal metric thread, but you need an Allen key to be able to undo these PCIs. Now it wouldn't be so bad if it was a Phillips screwdriver, you know, like a Phillips crosshead, but it's the Allen key, and it's one of those things that it does come with one, but it just seems to me a little bit more complicated than it really needed to be. I don't think it really adds any kind of air of quality to it. If anything, these screws, being Allen keys, have annoyed me with this more than anything else. And I mean, this I've had to go out to the garage, and I've brought this Allen key in specifically for this test bench. Now I'd much rather just be able to grab a normal screwdriver, or lo and behold, just have some thumb screws, and that for me would have made an epic amount of difference. Now the Allen keys are used everywhere in this build, and that's something else that it's not that I'm not really a fan of, it's just a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest with you. A decent thumb screw with like a big washer with the thread underneath, because it's not only Allen keys, but you've got to have bolts underneath as well. I'm just going to try and see if the camera's actually picking that up. I'm pretty sure it is. But if I zoom you in a bit, you can see that there's the bolts there and there. That nice big threaded or big wide, so you can hold on to it, thumb screw the other side, would have done the job much better. I suppose if you're just going to build it and forget about it, it's not going to be too much of a problem. But with me personally, where I use these type of things all the time, like every day of the week, the Allen keys really grated on me. So I don't know whether that's going to be such an issue for you, but obviously you can change them. It's only nuts and bolts at the end of the day. So you could pick up some thumb screws if you wanted. Thumb screws for the PCI won't be a problem because they're normal metric M3s. The screws everywhere else are M4s, and I don't think you're really going to be able to buy thumb screws with long enough threads on them. You may if you would be able to shop about, but other than that, I really don't know what to suggest. Now, zoom you back out again. Now we've got it on its side, we'll look at something else. This is another thing that I quite like with this, is it's actually pretty durable. We've obviously got the rubber feet on the bottom, brilliant. I know it sounds daft, but one of the LD cooling or Little Devil cooling, whatever you want to call it, one had metal feet. It absolutely trashed my desk. The desks here are not in the best condition anyway, because they've obviously had like 2-3 years worth of abuse. But these rubber feet, and it does make a lot of difference when you put it down. And not only is it nice that it's there, and it also gives it a little bit of stick. Whereas with the metal feet on the other one, it kind of slid all over the place as well. So it does give it make it feel a little bit more secure. Moving round, both sides this counts. But as you can see on the side, there is a 360mm radiator grill on this side. There's one on the other side as well. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to turn this sideways. I'm just going to rejig the camera for you quickly, just so that you can see. I'm only going to be dropping you down, so it's not too much of a problem. When we look in the side, there's a fair amount of room, but there is a fair old amount of options available as well, because you can see here that you've got a modular mount, so you can basically move these, the optical bay, the hard drive bay, you can move it side to side, it doesn't matter. But you can easily get a 60mm radiator in here, push-pull if you want, 80mm radiator, you just move the stuff about. This is the way it should be done. Nice, modular, leaves things open, set it up the way you want it. If you don't want the optical bay in there, don't put it in there. It's nice and simple. If we spin around as well, we can see that the power supply bracket, it's again, this is all modular. You can move it about as much as you want. I have the cables up around near the top because it just makes things easier for where everything else is going to go. Power supply bracket is a bit flimsy, if I'm honest, but it's definitely better than the original Dimmerstech one. That one was just, it felt like it was going to break. This has got a few more folds in it, so it's not too much of a problem. You got this mount here where you can put pumps and all kinds of stuff. I've only put that in there because it was in the box. I probably wouldn't have used that. If I was going to build this up long term, I'd probably end up having the power supply situated in the middle, with the hard drives pretty much smack bang in front of it. The optical bay now, I'm moving it even away from the optical bay in the test benches. I've just got an external one, which I pull out if and when I need it, because with optical bays, the only time I ever need it is when we're on very, very early kit and the drivers aren't available on the website yet, and we're having to use the discs, and they're normally just like rewritable discs that come with the kit. And that's the only time I use an optical now. Never ever use it in a main rig, and it's only on the test kit. Like for argument's sake, the last time that I used it was Sandy Bridge, when we were doing like BIOS updates and stuff like that, and the stuff was coming on a disc. And like the drivers and stuff like that, because even with the graphics card drivers now, they set us up FTPs and stuff like that, so we can download it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm starting to move away from opticals altogether now, because of people using FTPs and stuff like that for us to get the early release stuff. I'm not generally needing it. But anyway, massively off topic. Plenty room for you to be able to get your water cooling radiators and stuff in. The only reason why you may want to keep the optical bay is if you run an optical pump stroke reservoir, but with this you're not necessarily going to need it. There's plenty of mounts all over the place that you can end up putting reses and stuff, plenty of holes and mounts in the floor so that you can put your pumps in the floor and stuff like that. It's one of those things that it really is kind of left open to you. Something that I did think about was it might have been nicer if they'd put some more grommets in the top. Now I'll just explain this to you. I'm going to have to move the camera again. If they put more grommets in the top, now let's just say slightly bigger grommets like you'd have in the case, maybe you had a couple on this side or a couple on this side, do you know what I mean? Just so that you had a few options for you to be able to put your water cooling hose through. And the reason why I'm saying that is so that you don't end up having to have the big loops that come out of the top. And it might have been nicer for those that end up using these long term to have been able to set it up so it looked a bit nicer. That's just me being very picky, but where this is so water cooling based, it could easily have been done. Having them right the way at the edges would be a pain if you had a radiator underneath, but it really depends whether you're going to have one both sides. You could have easily had a couple here, a couple here, a couple on either side at the edges in case you weren't running a radiator on both sides. You could have put the options there that it could have been done. Even if you just had, do you know what I mean, a big one here and a big one here right at the very edges. Just so that you've got that option of being able to get the hose up and back down again without having to leave the kind of footprint of the case too much, so it stays within the case restraints. Really, that's about it. I can say the rest of the stuff with this in the conclusion, so that's pretty much what I'm going to do. And we'll have a good old conflab and my thoughts on this in the conclusion. Right then, peeps, moving on to the conclusion. First things first, what I want to do is I've forgotten to mention that you can undo the 4 Allen keys in the bottom and remove this whole bottom section as one piece. You leave the rest of the case standing there and you can actually slide it all out. So if you did want to, make some changes underneath, you don't necessarily have to, be really tight with cables and stuff. Obviously, you're going to need to remove the cables from the top if you're going to do it. So it's not as straightforward as you may think when you kind of think about the actual practice of it, but the option is there to be able to do it. Now, price for this is £110. I say 110, it's 111.42, but do you know what I mean? Prices kind of fluctuate, but it's around 110 quid. Let's call it 120, including postage. I've got to stop watching someone's videos on YouTube because I'm starting to sound like them. Anyway, it's not computer related, by the way, and it's not a dig. It's just someone I've started watching on YouTube recently, and I love them. Anyway, right. So conclusion. Now this is going to This is going to maybe surprise a couple of people, because I actually really like this test bench. And one thing I will say is this is the closest a test bench has come yet to getting a gold award. To the point where I'm actually still wavering as I'm talking about it. In fact, no, I'm going to swing it. I'm going to say I'm going to give it a gold award, and I'll explain why. Because the only thing that was wavering me was the bloody Allen keys on the expansion slots. Those Allen keys have been the bane of my existence, to the point where I was looking on eBay this morning to buy some thumb screws with an M3 thread to replace them, because I actually really like this test bench. Now, reason why I really like this test bench, obviously it's got SRX support. We've got plenty of grommets around and about, so we've actually got some decent buttons. One thing I will say though, Phobya / Aqua Tuning, is the switches, please bring out some pre-braided cable kits with, I don't know, 25-30 centimetres of cable on it, with the connections to go onto the motherboards, just so that I don't have to make looms for them, please. And I mean decently braided as well. But the buttons are great, and obviously you can customise these. These are you have to buy these afterwards, but you can buy the colours that you want. Awesome. I've obviously got red and white ones. I like this. The only thing that I don't really like about the black colour is the fact that it does, you do see the dust on it. With white, it hides it until it gets really bad. With the black, you do notice it. So I have been noticing myself. I've got some Mr. Sheen wipes now. And I had to do it with this today, because obviously where I spend so much time in the office and there's so much stuff coming in and out all the time, the dust does get horrific. I tried to hoover at least once a week. Notice I said try, but obviously it doesn't ever get everything, because obviously I spend so much time in it. It's normal, natural human stuff. But anyway, the water cooling options, best test bench really as far as water cooling options are concerned. It just works. The fact that you can move everything out the way, so it's not going to impede on your radiators. Power supply can be moved underneath. It does really. This is much better thought out than the LD cooling one, because there's so many options where you can move everything out the way around, so you can get it all perfect for you, and that's what the LD lacked, and that was over £100 more. That's one of the reasons why I've gone with the gold on this, really, is the fact that you have still got the movability, customizability, whatever you want to call it, but you've still got those water cooling support. And a lot of water cooling support, really, when you think about it as well. Now, I think me saying about trying to keep the water cooling tidy was being a tiny little bit too anal, because none of the other bench tables support it. They all, you know, you have to come out and around with your hose. That's just the way it is. But it would have been a nice little touch, something real small that they could have done with this, could have made, you know, a big difference, I think. But again, that was me being really picky, but generally that's what you lot expect me to do. One of the things you can get for this, or it does come with this, is a secondary bracket that goes over to put the two fans on. It wasn't until I looked the price up I saw it. Now, I didn't get one with mine. Mine was an early sample, so I'm assuming that with the retail ones that go out, considering there's pictures of it, you have got the extra mount, so you can put two fixed downdraft 120 mils. I still think it would have been nicer to have had something extra to be able to put up the sides or something, because generally when I'm doing mine, I don't mind putting fans on the top of the graphics cards when you're doing like mass banks for stupid silly benching, but it's the sides. I like to force feed the side of my graphics cards, like kind of around this area, sort of over where the SATA connections are, to blow air in the side, you know, in the side between the cards, so you're making sure that you're getting as much kind of forced air in. When I was doing the 4x7970 benching, that was pretty much anyway, when I was doing the overclocks, that was pretty much the only way I was keeping all four cards cool, or cool enough to be able to run the massive overclocks anyway. Take the side fans off and my temperatures went up, not a massive amount, but just enough to be able to make that the overclocks become unstable. And we're talking about 100 megahertz difference on the core to be able to do that, and that was even with running all four cards fans at 100%. you do still need to be able to keep all the other things cool as well. But anyway, it's a great bench. It's a great bench at a great price. The only real niggly thing that I have found with my one is around this kind of area here. When it's been powder coated, the powder coating environment's obviously not been very clean, and there's dust in the powder coat. It could also be when it was dipped before the powder coat, there might have been some like metal residue or something that had floated around, but there is a bit there which was a bit of a niggle, but again, it's only a really small niggle. The point with this thing is it's big, it will pretty much do everything. It supports the big motherboards, it supports the normal motherboards, there's plenty of grommets. You've got plenty of modular in the bottom where you can move your stuff backwards and forwards to suit your needs, and you can still get a couple of 360mm radiators in the bottom as well. But really, and this is something I should have mentioned earlier, is strangely, I like the fact this is made out of steel and not alloy, because it gives it a nice weight. And by that I mean, yeah, okay, we don't want stuff that's, you know, stupidly heavy and stuff, we're going to be moving it around loads. This, when you kind of handle it, it strangely gives it a feel of quality. I think this design in alloy would have flexed a lot, and I don't think it would have worked. But with the steel and the folds, and like I said, that nice bit of weight just makes it feel a little bit more kind of sturdy. Feels like it's going to last you. Certainly doesn't feel like it's going to, you know, break anytime soon. And also with the threads from the motherboard standoffs, where it's steel, you're going to be a lot less likely to wreck those threads cross-threading or just going in and out of them loads. So there's normally where we would have been saying aluminium might have been better. With this, I actually do feel that I prefer the steel nature of this. Let's face it, when it comes to test benches, it's not really something you take into a LAN or stuff like that. The least that you're going to be doing is moving it from one side of your kind of room or your workshop or like your man den, whatever you want to call it, to the other. And it's not overly heavy, it doesn't weigh a complete ton, but like I said, when you just put it down, it kind of just gets there, and where it is a little bit heavier, it doesn't move so much, it's just nicer. That's the only way I can explain it. Out of all the test benches I've done so far, and the other one I've got here, I don't think it's really going to change my mind that much. I do think I actually prefer this one. And like I said, with the black and red nature and stuff of it, it does kind of work optically as well. I can see a lot of you maybe not being that worried about the aesthetics of a test bench if you're buying it for a test bench. But for me, where I do so much stuff like when I do the 16 SSD stupidity overkill 3D video, it's black and red. I've got red solid state drives, red and black motherboard. You know what I mean? Those type of things are all the type of things that when I do my videos, I try and think about these things a little bit more, because I am very much about the aesthetics. So I want to try and bring those kind of accents through. So this really does work for me. But I'm going to love you and leave you, but for now, at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan with the gold award-winning Phobya Test Bench. And what do they call it? The Phobya, WaCoolT Benchtable in black. But anyway, gold award-winning anyway, and it's the first test bench I have given a gold award to, I might add. All the others have got silver, so it's quite a big statement for this. And the best way I can explain it is it does what it should do. There's no kind of blingy bits that it doesn't need. It works, it's modular, it's cheap without being tacky, it's well built, it just does everything that you could possibly want. So if you're in the market for a test table, I would be advising you to go and buy this one. That's if you don't want anything really compact. But anyways, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. Out.